Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode in Fiqh, jurisprudence, and we are on the last subject of a point of impure things and pure things and how purify. So this is about purification of impure things. Before we move on to another topic. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa afdalu salati wa atammu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. Allah bless us with understanding of this deen, of this religion. Right, so the oath continues to say وَإِذَا تَخَلَّتْ الْخَمْرَ بِنَفْسِهَا طَهُرَتْ. And when wine or alcohol becomes vinegar naturally, through this natural process, it is purified. وَإِنْ خُلِّلَتْ بِطَرْحِ شَيْءٍ فِيهَا لَمْ تَطْهُرْ. And if it becomes vinegar artificially, it is not purified. So we're talking about this main last section is actually talking about alcohol changing into vinegar, or wine changing into vinegar. But of course there's other kind of area changes that can take place, as I will mention them when we get to that part. But the main words here is naturally and artificially. So in this naturally process of how alcohol turns into vinegar, that fermentation that takes place, that end product, that vinegar, is purified. But if you start putting things in it to speed up the process, or you put something in it, if you put it into alcohol in the first place, it changes, it becomes impure. So then the end product, that vinegar, is also going to be impure. So that is the main point to get from today's session. So there's these items: wine or alcohol, animal skin, blood, animal corpse, so dead animal, and they have this change process. So wine changes into vinegar. I will mention that more in detail there. Animal skin changes into leather. So when you have animal skin, if you go through this tanning process, it turns into leather. So there's that tanning, in Arabic, dibagh. You have this dibagh, this process that changes animal skin into leather. Of course, if there's different opinions in the hair also, and that if it can't be removed, then that's considered that's something that's overlooked. So there's different opinions in that part, but it's just generally that there's animal skin that can turn into leather, blood can turn into musk. So what is musk? That perfume that it comes from the blood of a gazelle. So if those apothecaries, or those people who are specialists in perfumes, I saw many of those in Egypt. In those kind of arts, they know how to extract that blood. That process that changes and comes into musk. They are aware of all that, and they know that process. So that's also then purified state. The leather of animal skin is purified state. Again, it matters. It matters if it's an animal that is being slaughtered or not slaughtered. It has all these kind of branches that it goes out to, but I'm not going to be covering that. Main point I'm going to be covering is the alcohol turning into vinegar. And finally, the animal corpses. So when it's like a dead animal or a dead kind of organism, and then a new animal comes from it, so mainly like a maggot, or so some kind of larvae comes out of it, that animal is considered pure. So this is like there's a change that's occurred, so generally naturally, and that's dibagh, this leather process. That's not a more natural. You do things and you put that into motion to happen. So then all this becomes pure. These items in that change state are then purified. So I'm mainly concentrating on this wine or alcohol. So there's two types. Is so where first we have at the bottom, anything that kind of like fruits or anything that has that sugar, because the sugar is the main thing that turns into alcohol, and then that alcohol then turns into vinegar. So it's like there's that three stages. There's kind of like will be shown here. So yeah, they have sugar. So this yeast process, the fermentation that takes place, the sugar is kind of then turned into alcohol, and then through this bacterial process, the alcohol is then kind of turned into vinegar in the end. So the main thing here is just through a natural process, everything, people can make homemade vinegar as well. However, normally you just buy it from companies producing it, or people kind of in that kind of who deal with those kind of things. So there's two types of also things. Main thing about this is the artificial part. So this things respected alcohol and not respected alcohol. Meaning, what is your intention when you are wanting that? You start off with that, whether it's some kind of juice of, whether it's raisins or grapes or apples or whatever this kind of fruit maybe or not fruit that has that sweetness, that sugar kind of content. What is the intention when you wanting it to become, turning into, is your intention to make it into alcohol? Then that's that not respected alcohol. So when you have the intention that you want to make wine, you want to make alcohol, then obviously that's not respected, because then if it turns into alcohol, it turns into alcohol, and then from that alcohol it turns into vinegar, that is going to be considered impure. However, if your alcohol initially when you started off with that kind of sugar, that sugar substance or the sugary substance, and your intention was to make vinegar in the first place, so it has that first process that will go into alcohol, and then from the alcohol it will turn into vinegar. When it comes that vinegar, so that's the respected alcohol. What is your that end product? So respected alcohol is that one, that end product you've always wanted to make vinegar from the start. When you had a different intention, but then vinegar came out of it as well, then that's considered that's the not respected alcohol, and that's not considered pure. So the point of artificial is when you add a thing to it. So when you add a thing to this whole process, so if you add it to that alcohol part, then as soon as it goes into the alcohol part, it's kind of made it impure, and because it's made it impure, okay, fine. Then later on, the alcohol becomes purified into a vinegar state, but because it has whatever you added in, that became impure, and so that's kind of messed up the whole. He's messed up the whole equation. He's messed up the end product, which is that now it's turned into vinegar, but that is considered to be impure. So that's the main thing: natural process and unnatural. So one thing I would recommend is to, if there are companies who kind of make vinegar and they have a process, whether it's apple cider vinegar or any other type of vinegar, they'll tell you can ask them and they'll see if you can find out if it's a natural process that they use, and they do, whether they use unnatural and artificial kind of ways to do that as well. And that is finished with this chapter. Now we've kind of gone on impurities and from impurities in animals, and here how to make things purified when impurity befalls it, and here purification of impure things, how from this change process things become pure. And then next session will be on the next kind of different section area, and that is also again in this book of purification, and that's going to be on menstruation. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم.